Hey everybody. Sorry that this video is coming to you a little bit late, and I'm pretty sure the quality is going to be kind of crazy because it's nighttime and I'm trying to use a light for lighting and it looks grainy on my computer screen, but this is what we got. Okay, so I wanted to start off with just some reminders for what you have for this week. You've got 2 assignments on MindTap, the Chapter 3 video case, and then the Chapter 3 decide, where you pick scenarios. How do you like those decide activities? I mean, like, it's like choose your own adventure, but they're really short, but, I'm just curious. You can let me know in the discussion board. I'm also thinking about possibly putting up like a video discussion board where like I will post these videos and then I'll have a discussion board underneath it, and then you can discuss what so that way it's more interactive. Let me know what you think about that. Another update, MindTap, the due dates on MindTap, I can't change them. Once they are in, that's it. So there's no way to make up late assignments for MindTap. You can make up late assignments for anything that's through Cougar Courses, but you can't make up anything that's on MindTap because once it's set, it's set. So so there's that. Make sure that you're getting those MindTap assignments in before Sundays. The other thing is I got a question, I believe, from this section about what I mean by you being able to turn in 4 late assignments throughout the semester. So you can turn in 4 assignments late. After the 4th assignment, if you miss an assignment, you miss it and you don't have the opportunity to turn it in late. So that's what I meant by that. Hopefully that clarifies that question. If you still have questions, please use the question and answer discussion board and I will respond back to you. The other assignment that you have besides the Chapter 3 video case and the Chapter 3 decide is the reading analysis for Black men as criminals and as victims, and also the discussion forum for this week. To reply, you just simply click on whatever question you want to reply on. Remember that you need to reply to 2 questions. Click on that question. You'll see that I have the question at the top. It's my name. Just click reply under my name and then post your reply. And then to reply to a classmate, click on what they post and push reply to them. The other thing is, it's like a page full of blue. I don't even know what that font is. Blue Tahoma or whatever it is font. It's just all the same font. So, feel free to jazz it up. Change the color, change the font, so that way it's not looking like one page of blue, the same font for everyone. So it might help to kind of bring a little bit more personality to it and make it look a little bit more visually interesting. If you do not know how to change the font or the color, send me a question, and if you want me to explain it, I will. Okay, and then let's get into the discussion forum. Another reminder about the discussion forum. So you need to post your first post by Wednesdays, because I review the posts on Wednesdays and then I take copious notes, which you can't kind of see. Okay, you kind of see. And then I do these videos for you. So that way you have the rest of the week to discuss what I'm about to share with you and discuss with each other. That doesn't mean that you need to do the entire discussion board by Wednesday. It just means that you need to at least post one thing in the discussion forum by Wednesday. So hopefully that clears things up. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to just go by each of the questions in the victim discussion board. What if victims had more say in their punishments, or if not in their punishments, but in punishments to people who have offended them. Tanner, you talked about being a victim of a hit and run, and I have also been a victim of a hit and run. Someone rammed into the back of my car, and when I went to pull over, they just pulled off. So that was awesome. And I agree, I wish that they would have, I could have just had them repair the damage to my car, but it came out of my pocket. Thanks, Katya and Adriana, for sharing your experiences as well. And there seems to be a general consensus amongst everybody who's answered this discussion forum that if that allowing victims to have say in punishment of offenders could lead to disproportionate punishment. So it seems like we're not for that. We're not for allowing victims to allocate punishment to offenders. Both Celeste and Shelley mentioned that another con of this system is that there would be punishment based on race, class, and gender. And then Celeste gave an example of Brock Turner, and I'm sure, I haven't checked it since I've wrote my notes, but I'm pretty sure that a bunch of you might have brought this up. But, and in case you don't know who Brock Turner is, he is a rapist who was sentenced to only 6 months in prison. Well, not even prison, in jail, because he was a Stanford athlete and the judge didn't want, jail time to mess up his career. And so it's so interesting. A lot of that had to do with, one, he was white. He was I was going to say he's upper class, but he's at an upper class school, a private institution. He's an athlete. So, he's getting preferential treatment. And there could be, and Celeste and Shelley mentioned that this could be also another byproduct of having victims have more say in punishment. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions on here, and then I will type them up on the discussion forum as well. And so if you can also respond to me for credit. And some questions that I thought about were, some people argue that there are victimless crimes, that there are some crimes that don't really have a victim to them. Do you agree with that? Do you think that there are victimless crimes? If so, can you give an example of what might be a victimless crime? So I will put that in the discussion forum and you can discuss it and talk about it, just to kind of get more questions out there, because sometimes it could just be hard to, talk to one another and be like, I agree with your point. Like, I'm seeing a lot of that. So maybe you want to talk about something new and something fresh. And I will throw in questions to maybe kind of jazz up the conversation a little bit. And like I said, those will count. If you answer them, you get credit for them. And you can also ask your own questions as well to kind of, I miss in-class discussions, and I try to make it that way in the discussion forum. So keep that kind of like mindset. Okay, the law one, the law question about the stand your ground law and the Megan's law. Okay, so again, thank you, Katya and Gabriella, for getting the discussion started. When I saw it, you two were the only two that had responded to this one. So for the stand your ground law, here's another question that I will put in the discussion board, but I'll ask it now. So for the stand your ground law, who might this law be benefiting? Could there be socioeconomic, race, or gender factors at play with this law? You might even want to look up like who has benefited from these laws. There's some really interesting cases. In fact, well, in your book, it talks about George Zimmerman, and he killed Trayvon Martin and was able to use the stand your ground defense. But there was a really interesting case. There was a woman, she's an African-American woman, and she was in an abusive relationship, and I think it was her husband or boyfriend, her partner, had threatened to kill her. And she was trying to distance herself from him and try to get restraining orders and stuff. And long story short, he ended up coming to her house one day, and she ran into the house, got a gun, shot it in the air to, get him out of the house or to scare him, because she was afraid he was going to kill her. And she tried to use the stand your ground defense, because she ended up getting arrested because the gun wasn't her gun. And she was trying to say, well, but I was in fear of my life. And he even admitted that he was there to kill her. And she wasn't able to, she went to jail. She went to prison and served time. It's crazy. Okay, so that's just a question I was going to ask, how might this stand your ground law have some aspects of class, gender, race built into it? That's not being explicitly stated. Okay, and then here's some interesting things about sex registry laws, and you might have talked about this in the discussion board. Like I said, I did this yesterday around 4 o'clock, so so that will be Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Here's a fun fact about the sex registry laws. They vary from state to state, so even while the book talks about a sex offender registry, I think it's in New York, where it ranks like the chances that someone's going to offend again, and it's low level, mid level, high level. Some registries do not have that. Some are just, you are a sex offender, and then it has like whatever your charge, whatever your crime is, attached to you. And then there's also a variety of different criminal acts that can put someone in. There's a variety of criminal acts that can put someone on this list, like for example, peeing in public exposure, right? Also having sex in public. And I know people are like, who's having sex in public? But people have sex in cars all the time, right? And if you get caught, you're now a sex offender. Or you can be, an 18-year-old with a 16-year-old girlfriend, or maybe a 15-year-old girlfriend. And that would be like, a senior dating a sophomore. So you're in school together and you're interacting together. And then you start dating, and if, a parent wants to press charges, they can, and then you're a sex offender from the age of 18. 2020 has a special, you can Google it if you're interested, on the age of consent, and it talks about cases like that where there are young men who are like 19 with, 16-year-old girlfriends, and now they're considered sex offenders. In fact, one of the girls, her boyfriend was 19, she was 16 at the time. In her state, the age of consent was 17. When she turned 17, they got married. But he's still a sex offender. It's bananas. Okay, so some questions. Do you think that statutory rape should be considered separate from the sex offender registry? Because I think that a lot of people are probably going to mention that, well, what if you're, with the Megan's Law, well, what if you're in the situation where you're like a young high school kid with a younger girlfriend, and now you're branded as a sex offender, but you're not a pedophile, right? Yeah. And then another question I had is, would you change the age of consent laws? Do you think that they should be lower? You think they should be higher? If so, what effect might that have? Do you think that parents should be allowed to press charges for minors? Because most of the time with these age of consent cases, it's usually a parent who's saying, hey, this 19-year-old, and it's usually male. Like, I haven't seen too many cases where there's a young man's parent who is pressing charges against an older girl. Usually we see that with like teachers, but not within, and then the other thing is, it's interesting that some people don't have issues with this. I mean, wasn't Kylie Jenner like 16 when she was dating a 24-year-old? So interesting. Okay, so I'll put those questions in there, but just things to think about. The Black Men as Criminals and as Victims discussion forum. It's interesting. I was reading your responses to that, good responses. There is this irrational fear of Black men, right? In fact, Catherine Russell Brown and Michelle Alexander Catherine Russell Brown has done her own studies, and she coined the term criminal black men. I wish I could write on the screen. I don't know how to do that yet, but criminal black men, and it's all one term. She's saying that there is a correlation between crime and black males. And even when black males are not committing crimes, there is still an element of criminality around them. And Michelle Alexander talks about it in the book, The New Jim Crow. It's an awesome book. You should read it when you get a chance. And it's interesting, this media imagery of black men has had very devastating effects. Deva Pager did a study about this where she had 4 men go out, 2 of them were white, 2 of them were black, and then 1 white one with a criminal record, 1 black one with a criminal record. So 4 men, 1 white one without a criminal record, 1 with. 1 black man without a criminal record, 1 black man with a criminal record. And as far as callbacks go for those jobs, the first one to get callbacks more often, a white male without a criminal record. Second most often, a white man with a criminal record. Third was a black man without a criminal record. So we can see that there is clearly this strong image of black men being shown as criminals in the news, and people are picking up on that narrative, and then they're treating black men as if they're criminals even though they're not. And are you familiar with what's going on with Terrence Crutcher and him being shot in Oklahoma? I think, again, You know, I've talked about this in all of my classes that meet face to face, and it's just interesting that, you know, the way he was being described, that, you know, from the helicopter, he looks like a bad guy. The cops, the officer who shot him, sorry, it's a little bit late. I'm trying to get it together, and I've already taught 3 classes today, so sorry for tripping up on my words. But the officer who shot him, I mean, he was already tased, and then she shot him, and he was on the ground. And even if she was in fear, it's just interesting. What is there to be afraid of? Somebody's already on the ground, and you're with other officers, a few other officers. It's not even like one other person. Sade, I'm so sorry. I have your name here. You had a great comment. Do you see that? Blank. I don't know what happened and why I didn't print your comment, but everyone check out Sade's post. She made some great points. And then questions for this discussion board. Do you think that the Black Lives Matter movement is helping to bring light to black male victimization? Why or why not? I know that, you know, some people find the Black Lives Matter movement controversial. Some people say that the protests don't help, that they're a waste of time. I just am curious to know what your thoughts are on it, so I will post that in the discussion forum. And then lastly, the last discussion forum was about theory and the victim precipitation, lifestyle, and routine activities theory, and I'm forgetting one more. Oh, deviant places. Okay, so I had a question. Do you think that with these theories, especially the victim, lifestyle, and routine activities theory, that there is a tendency to blame the victim? And if so, like, how can, you know, explain that? How might these theories lead towards people starting to blame the victim? And then another question, how could these theories be useful in preventing victimization? And how could a focus on preventing victimization be problematic? And what I mean by that is, you know, if we're, okay, let me think of a way to, I'll give you an analogy. You know, when it comes to things like sexual assault, a lot of times women are told, you know, well, make sure that you watch your drink, and make sure that you watch what you have on, and make sure you don't leave a club by yourself, and make sure that you don't go out by yourself. Make sure you're not out late at night. You know, make sure you don't walk down any dark alleyways. Make sure that you're not in a parking garage by yourself. We have all of these things that we tell women to do to protect themselves, so that way they aren't a victim of sexual assault or rape. But essentially what we're saying is that rape is going to happen. Just make sure you're not the person who gets raped. So that's what I mean by what might be the, why might a focus on preventing victimization be problematic? You can continue to talk about it. Okay, that's what I have for you. This video is a little bit long. Hopefully you watch it. Hopefully you enjoy these. I've gotten some good feedback, so again, I'm going to keep up with them. If you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, please use the question and answers discussion board. I think it's really good because then everyone can see. A lot of people probably have the same question. Everyone can get, you know, one person ask it, everybody gets the answer. I think it works out great. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.